The following is a Cheeky Leprechaun production.
Pop culture is the entirety of ideas.
Me, Mario.
Let the bass kick.
I am the greatest.
Holy eggshell!
I am your father.
This is the Pop Culture Report with Dan O'Kelly.
Yeah, it's another episode of what was the Pop Culture Report is now the Pop Culture Experience. How you going? It's good. I'm going to assume you were good. I'm pretty good. A little bit, maybe a little bit nasally today. Maybe more so than normal. I'm not sure if you can tell. Don't worry, I don't think it's the Rona virus, COVID, if you will. Just a little cold, maybe. Nothing serious. Other than that, pretty good. Pretty good. You would have seen throughout the week a bit of a launch of a Facebook page for the podcast. We're no longer on the Cheeky Leprechaun Facebook page, relying on, the parent company, if you will, for lack of a better term. Sort of the overarching production label that the Pop Culture Experience falls under. I figured it was time to have our own little Facebook page. So that's what's happened there. Got a Facebook page now. You can head over there and like that. Pop Culture Experience on Facebook. Got a few likes going early, which was nice. Makes you feel good knowing that, some people out there give somewhat of a shit about following along with what I'm doing here. So, yeah, I can't help but think that maybe the last episode gave a little bit more traction. Tiger King, God, it was hot. It was relevant. Bit of feedback from that one. Not all positive. I mean, a lot of people freaking just love Tiger King. They love it. And the three of us who discussed it via Zoom, myself, Justin and Jack, weren't the biggest fans. Now, Jack and I obviously watched the whole thing. If you've listened to that episode, we watched the whole thing. Justin struggled to get through 3 episodes. So he stopped. And look, we didn't deny its entertainment value. Not at all. Well, at least Jack and I didn't. Justin probably did a little bit. There's no denying it's entertaining as hell. Everyone needs to just... It's more the concern we had about, not focusing and paying attention to the poor animals that have been, locked up in these poor living conditions, and rather, but Joe's in poor living conditions now. Yeah, he's in jail. And again, probably deserved. The issue being they're not all in jail. But anyway, look, I digress. If you want to get into that, head back to episode 21 of the Pop Culture Experience, and you can check out what we all had to say there. Agree, disagree, that's fine. Either way, continue to let me know, because I found it interesting. And, it's good to hear different people's opinions. That's what the show's about, How everyone's interacting with pop culture in different ways. What are they getting from it? So, yeah. Well, on today's show, we're going to touch on a little bit of news in a second. And then we'll jump into a little bit of a chat. There was some... Well, sort of speaking of news, there was some average news. This COVID-19 continues to be a real dick. Really, doesn't it? It's costing careers everywhere. People's livelihood severely in jeopardy. And I had a bit of a chat with one of my friends, Lukas, and he's sort of, the niche world of wrestling, as much as I'm trying to bring it in here, a little bit here and there, little dribs and drabs, just to try and maybe get some of you pop culture enthusiasts to jump on board the train of wrestling. This week, it was roughly 20-odd employees of WWE, and that was just sort of known name employees, such as in-ring talent and or backstage producers. The people that help put on the show have been let go. Lost their jobs. And there's some really big names that WWE sort of... The reality of the matter was that tickets aren't being sold at the moment, so we've got to make cost cuts somewhere. Something's got to give. And unfortunately, a lot of people lost their jobs. So, we're going to look into that, talk about maybe what the wrestling industry looks like at the moment, and we'll have a little bit of a chat about that, and get you sort of across what's happening in that world of pop culture. A little bit different, Yeah, dip your toe in, have a little feel around, see what you think. But yeah, nothing too in-depth there. It's not going to be like a WrestleMania episode, my God, no. And for that reason, I want to start with a little bit of news. So in the news, it's easy to be across the news at the moment because there's nothing else to do. Sort of, you find yourself just scrolling the news feed and you come across some gems. The other day, an absolute gem was dropped. The new Tom Hardy Capone movie. Al Capone, the famous mobster. You know him? He was he was actually locked up in Alcatraz, I believe. I believe he died in Alcatraz. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's where he contracted one of those old diseases, like one of those ones that people don't get anymore. Syphilis? Syphilis, I think, is what he got. Yeah, which is, I believe, was a sexually transmitted disease back in the day. Could be wrong on that too. Just a pop culture podcaster, okay? Don't get too hung up on anything I say at any point. But yeah, the new Capone trailer has come out, and it was just randomly dropped on Netflix. I don't think anyone was really expecting it to pop up. It just got dropped on Facebook. But the weird part of the whole thing was that the directors come out and said that it will be dropping, I think they said May 12 or something. The film, not the trailer, the film is expected to drop May 12. Last time I checked, no movie cinemas are open. No popcorn being sold. So I'm not entirely sure how that movie is meant to be getting released, given that there was no mention of a streaming service. That was the weird thing. You would normally just go, I guess it's going to be a Netflix film or something like that, but there was absolutely no mention of a digital release, at least not that I saw. So if you did see it and I've somehow missed it, let me know. Yeah, see, USA, 12th of May 2020, it's scheduled to be released. And for the trailer to have been dropped yesterday, the statement to have been made yesterday about its release date, they're they're well aware that the cinemas, they're not opening by May 12th, unless they know something we don't know. And that could be hard-hitting news right here on the Pop Culture Experience. Maybe I shouldn't have changed the name from Report. I'm feeling like a news reporter right now. Could be the case. I doubt it, though. I doubt that we'll see this released in theaters and that it will likely be pushed back. It could also just be one of those ones that a Netflix picks up. It's a biopic, obviously, and it's actually directed by Josh Trank, who was the director of that ill-fated Fantastic Four movie from 2015. Yes, 2015. Well, actually, that's interesting. It has him down here as the writer. No. Yeah, he also directed. I thought so. I've got to be honest, I never saw that. The press was so bad for that, I never actually saw it. And he came out and he sort of went off the rails about the whole thing. He lost his mind and was, attacking people online about, anyone that was had a negative thing to say about it. I should really go back and watch it, especially with the next bit of news, which I actually didn't have written down, but it came to me in the moment. I'm going to go on the fly here. John Krasinski is apparently it's already happened, had a meeting with Marvel. I know. It's a little exciting because you start going, well, what could that be about? It has to be about Fantastic Four, doesn't it? Doesn't it almost have to be a meeting to play Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic? It's got to be. How long have we seen online people talking about John Krasinski? He is... God, if Marvel ever reboot Fantastic Four, John Krasinski would have to be him, wouldn't it? Hell, get Emily Blunt to jump in too. She can be in the film as well, because you kind of just, well, at least for John Krasinski, he very much fits the mold. Not only physically, but looks and charm, charisma, intelligence. He's sort of, he displays it all. And then you throw in Emily Blunt as a Sue Storm, and you're cooking yourself up quite the film. Even though Fantastic Four films are a little bit, well, they've got a bit of a troubled production history. They've got a bit of a troubled, they've had problems being embraced by the nerd culture a little bit. Anyway, even though I kind of remember the Chris Evans Fantastic Four from 2005, that would have been something like that. I remember that quite fondly, but I was quite a bit younger. Haven't rewatched it lately. But then suddenly we got the news that bloody Marvel have acquired the rights to Fantastic Four. They've got it back. God, they're actually gonna do a Fantastic Four film. Okay, seriously though, can somebody tell them about our John Krasinski feelings and how we think he'd be a great, Reed Richards? That'd be really good. Fast forward to now, and they've had a meeting about something. You just feel that if they were to come out and have him playing anyone else at this point, it would be a miss. But God, I just thought of something. Has anyone thought about John Krasinski potentially as Wolverine? Has anyone thought about that? I mean, I don't think so either. I think Reed Richards, but Jesus. Now it comes to mind, he is jacked. He is tall. There is a certain element of Hugh Jackman about him. I don't know. I wouldn't hate that. That little food for thought there. Don't mind that little sort of just off the cuff from myself there. Big fan. What else in the news? Well, sort of maybe the biggest news story of the week. Ladies and gents, Comic-Con 2020 has been cancelled. Now, surprising? No. Expected? Yes. It was never going to go ahead. When they cancel things such as like South by Southwest, every other comic convention, every other Comic-Con out there, but the San Diego Comic-Con, my God, this is like the OG. This thing's been around since the 70s. This is the epicenter of pop culture nerdom. Nerdgasms everywhere. This is where it all happens. And every year, it's exciting. Marvel take their movies there. They release them and you get all hyped. You're like, ooh, what trailer are we going to catch a glimpse of? Sometimes there's been surprise trailers, things you didn't expect to get a glimpse of. This is where they debut them. A lot of the upcoming films. You got to imagine that Wonder Woman would have been there. Black Widow would have been out by now, I think. What else? Maybe a bit of Doctor Strange. You might have got to look at Doctor Strange. So many movies that get, your little sneak peeks, your panel interviews, your announcements. My God, the announcements. If Marvel, maybe Marvel had a panel for Blade, or they announce what we're all hoping that maybe, Daredevil's making a return to the cinematic universe. It hurts seeing Comic-Con cancelled because it's a week or 2 weeks. Is it a week or 2 weeks? Can't remember. It's a period of time where, you find yourself on Facebook that little bit more often because you're waiting for those big announcements to come. Big news. Or, if you're in group inboxes like I am, where you've got fellow movie buffs or, nerds, essentially. You're going to hang up. People that get a lot of enjoyment out of that sort of, whether it be gaming or movies or TV shows or whatever it may be. Everyone's eagerly awaiting some news to share with each other. Your group inboxes start going off. Oh my God, look at this. And it's like, so-and-so shared a link. Oh my God, I've got to quickly, sorry, I'll be back in a minute. And you quickly duck into the, you're at work, you duck into the toilet and you quickly pull up YouTube and you're watching a trailer that's just been, so exciting. 2020 sucks at the moment, doesn't it? Everything's getting cancelled. But Comic-Con 2020, as I said, not surprising, just kind of hurts to get the confirmation. Cancelled for 2020. Back 2021, they're saying. Hopefully this lack of financials that they won't be receiving doesn't hurt them too much. and that'll be back next year. Anyway, moving on. What have we got next? Sports buffs. Everyone loves Michael Jordan. You got to love Michael Jordan, right? You've seen this doco that's on its way out. That comes out May something. I'll Google that while I'm talking to you. But the new Michael Jordan documentary, which at least here in Australia, it's going to be released on Netflix, I believe, is scheduled to come out, I think, next month. Here we go, The Last Dance. It's a 10-hour series, I think, so 10-part, 1-hour episodes, I think. Here we go, where are we? Release. I think in America it's coming out on ESPN, April 19. What are we now? Oh my goodness, are we in April? We're in April. April 19. Is that close? That's like... No, that's tomorrow when I'm recording this. Holy moly, we're finding out things on the fly here. This is good. Okay, well, this could potentially be out by the time this episode drops. Anyway, have you seen all the press around it? The whole series, the premise, for those unaware, is that in the last season that Michael Jordan played at the Bulls, the last time they won the championship, they won their 6th ring. There was I want to say an ESPN team, but it could have, I don't know. There was a documentary team that granted access to the team for the full season, from preseason through to the championship, kind of knowing that this was going to be the last season they'd all be playing together. And apparently, it's going to show a very different side of Michael Jordan. Apparently, and like everyone, I know Michael Jordan's hyper competitive, don't you? And like I'm an admitted sort of not an outside fan, but I'm not by any means a diehard NBA fan. I don't live and breathe it. You know, I'm on the cusp. I'm on the outside. Oh, who's looking good this year, guys? Keep me in the. Is it still Golden State? No, we don't like them anymore. I thought, what? We don't like Steph Curry? I thought people. Okay, missed a lot of things. So, yeah, that's where I sit a lot of the time in terms of, my attention to detail when it comes to the basketball world. But I know Michael Jordan and his story well enough to know he's very competitive. Apparently this doco is going to take a very different look at the competitive nature and the determination and extent the guy was willing to go to in order to have and achieve success. Now, apparently, there's some footage of him maybe having some pretty stern words with some of his teammates and almost coming across a little dickish. But I mean, I'm not that surprised by it. There seems to be concern. Jordan seems to be coming out being like, it's going to be a bit of a rough watch. Rough watch? I'd be disappointed if he wasn't, this larger-than-life, over-the-top, hyper-driven for success kind of guy. There's a certain kind of competitive nature we've come to learn and know about Michael Jordan. I mean, come on, everyone needs to relax about this. I'm excited for it. Again, this could be out by the time this podcast is. So if you're in Australia, at least this is my understanding, it's going to be on Netflix. Jump on. 10-part documentary series, The Last Dance. It's got all current day interviews from Jordan and Scottie Pippen and all those other blokes that played. Should be pretty good. Last bit of news before we push on with the show. Have you heard about this Lady Gaga charity gig? It's not really a charity gig as much as it is like a benefit, a relief concert for, this whole COVID-19. Coronavirus. Gaga's got the band together. She's got a few people together. It's called One World Together at Home. That's the concert. It's going to be on TV. I think here in Australia, Channel 9 tomorrow morning. Again, at time of recording, depending when this actually gets up, it might have already happened. But it's Sunday morning it was to air in Australia. I'm sure you can probably find it on YouTube. But Gaga's One World Together at Home. Apparently, here's the claim. I don't know if this is, a bit of bullshit or not. The largest assembly of musical talent since Live Aid. Now, if you're not familiar with Live Aid, it could be something we could cover one day on the podcast. It was an 80s concert. I want to say 1985. there was a Live Aid. It was a music concert called Live Aid. It was essentially to raise money for relief for children and families in Ethiopia. I think it was raise money. You know, the poverty, the hunger, all that sort of stuff. Good stuff. And the talent was ridiculous. You got Bowie, you've got U2, you've got Jagger, you've got Elton, you've got Queen, you've got who else was big in the 80s? Everyone, Cyndi Lauper. The list went on. And yeah, to claim that this is going to be as big, if not bigger than that, I don't know. It's interesting. By the way, did you hear Ellen DeGeneres is a bitch? That's what they're saying. Surprised by that. She seems so nice. Apparently she's no good. A couple of her producers came out and said that she's a bit of a hypocrite. The whole be nice, be kind thing. It's all a lie. I don't know. This is all allegedly. Probably should add that in. All right, that's the end of the news. Let's jump in now to my chat that I had with my mate Lukas about, well, the unfortunate week that took place in WWE, but maybe with a glimmer of hope, given the new company that is out there and competing with the WWE. Luko, my friend, my wrestling mate. What's happened? What are 24 hours?
Been a big week, mate. Been a big week. I'm not sure how to really explain it straight off the heart, but it's been tough.
Well, it's weird because at the time we were recording this, it's sort of pretty fresh, the news that WWE had to release a bunch of their talent. Not only talent, but producers too, a lot of backstage people. I mean, you know, the amount of payroll they would be forking out on a regular basis, you can understand that there's going to have to be cutbacks in a time where, you know, the business is at a downward turn. You know, there's no people buying tickets. It makes sense, but Jesus, it didn't make it any easier when the news came through.
I was more surprised when, when AEW started coming in and people was saying, oh, they're not too big of a threat to WWE financially, blah, blah, blah. Like, WWE is set up for the next 5 or 6 years with coin and everything like that.
Yep.
All of a sudden, geez, it's only been a couple of months and they've cut 20 people.
Yeah, and I think that was the other thing.
I thought they were fine with money, but then you don't really think about it, like, you know.
Yeah, I think that's the thing with when you look at them and you see that they're such a successful business, you sort of don't imagine, sort of like when you look at Disney or, I don't know, these big companies which have been around for so long and you know that they're super successful. I mean, WWE are in stadiums every other week, selling them out for a large part of that. You don't think that they're going to get to a point where they need to drastically cut, let alone all at once. Like, I think that was the surprising part for me, was to see so many names on that list of people that lost their job in the last 24 hours. You
could honestly build another promotion like how AEW have. You could build another company off the people that they've just let go. That's what I'm more surprised about. Like that, I reckon even me or you could start up a company with that talent, and we'd be able to put together a pretty good 2-hour program.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you and I, we like a bit of busted open radio with Bully Ray, Dave LaGreca and Tommy Dreamer, Mark Henry. We don't mind that, but I heard Tommy Dreamer saying on their show just the other day that, to your point, the list of people they've just cut, both backstage and on-camera talent, mate, you could start a show with it. You could have the people out the back, you know, pulling the strings, and then the talent to deliver on it. And
them knowing that all that talent, like, will either come good in some. I'm pretty sure my mate Dale Eckwood told me that Carl Anderson's already been picked up by Japan.
Yeah, yeah.
Seems like EC3, like the way his social media work is going, he's already got something in the works because he's not too down the dumps about it. And the Revival, I'm sure they've already been picked up. Rusev, I reckon he's already been picked up.
Mate, I mean,
it's more of like, I don't know, but even I just don't understand, how could AEW be able to afford these guys. If WWE are making 20 cuts, how can they must not be paying their superstars that much?
Well, I don't reckon they would be, because the reality is that the money they would have had to offer from the start of AEW, which for those unaware is, I've spoken about it on the podcast before, it's a newer company in the wrestling world, which actually is one of the few that has a substantial amount of money behind it. It's probably, I think the guy, Tony Khan and his old man, which let's be honest, that's where the money comes from, Stuke. They're more wealthy than the McMahon family, Vince and Steph and, Hunter. So I don't know how the finances work, though, with it. I don't understand it because, as you're saying, they're a new company, but yes, okay, they've got money behind them, but surely they're not in a point where they'd be stable enough by now where they can just be forking out cash if the biggest wrestling company in the world cannot.
Yeah. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. I mean, like, even if these guys are like, will come to you for the smallest amount that they've been paid, but just something to get them through, even if it's, who knows, if it's $500 a week, that's still better than nothing. If it's that's what they get on the show. But I don't know how, like you said, I don't know how it works financially either, but I'll be amazed to see. This is AEW's chance. Like, the talent that they've let go, they can build. I know, like, they keep saying, "Oh, we don't want to take just ex-WWE stars," but where else is the talent coming from? You just got 20, even people backstage. Why wouldn't you get Kurt Angle? Why wouldn't you get, all
absolutely.
these people
Well, let's go through the releases, because let's actually name them, and we can sort of throw around maybe who we think might be worth picking up, who maybe might find it a little harder for the foreseeable future. Maybe there's some that we both think might end up back in WWE when all this has happened, because I can't help but think that there is a possibility that will happen. There's going to be people still on the shelf from this. Yeah, I can't help but think that after this, there's going to be some of these people still on the shelf that WWE can pick back up. So, I mean, let's go through a few of them. So let's start with Kurt Angle. What do you think? I was surprised, given Kurt doesn't do any in-ring stuff. I would have thought, producer-wise, behind the scenes, Kurt's pretty valuable. I mean, he's arguably one of the best ever.
Yeah, I think he could offer anyone like the way that he's spoken about. I think he would definitely offer something, but such a hard one, because if WWE are that happy to let him go, AEW, like, we just got to back our people in. Like, how many producers can AEW have? Because they don't want to be run how WWE are run by two, because they let their talent have more freedom. So Jericho and Matt Hardy and all these, Cody, these guys run their own race. So if they get all these, I don't think they want too many producers coming in and, like, getting people to like, tell them what to do. I think they enjoy the freedom that they have at the moment. That's why they're a bit different at WWE, because they can, that's why a lot of people leave WWE, because
the creative freedom, not as many micromanagers in there. I guess that's probably true.
This might be a good thing for WWE, because they're going to be limited to who they have backstage. So they can't have too many voices. It might just be left up to, Heyman, Vince, Hunter, a few of them, that it might be the best thing that happened to them. They don't need that many people.
It's true. I mean, you're not wrong, but I guess the thing with AEW is that, I mean, we are just looking at this largely as an opportunity for AEW to pick up a bunch of really experienced talent and or some backstage producers. My thing on sort of countering what you're saying about do they need the producers would be, I would think that maybe they do have more of a priority on getting in some big name producers. I mean, look at who's doing a lot of their producing. It's people like Arn Anderson. Yeah, Arn Anderson's vintage as shit. Like, he's the same age as Ric Flair. He's not young. So, I mean, do they need... You look at someone like Shane Helms, like Hurricane, who is one of the producers that was let go by WWE. He was on Busted Open talking about how his biggest claim to fame from his time in WWE was orchestrating and coming up with the idea for Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte in that WrestleMania main event. That's pretty big. That got some mainstream attention. I mean, pretty handy pickup. And would they not be potentially, I don't know, would they potentially be the cheaper pickups compared to some of the talent? Maybe.
I think that a lot of these guys would go there on a very small budget. They'd be happy just to be working and
Yeah.
just, still be hanging around the business. And then when it does pick back up, then they can, negotiate. It's like a normal work business, like.
Well, that's what they were saying. That's what Bully was saying. Bully Ray was saying about he's saying that that's almost the biggest detriment to this whole thing happening is that after this they come back and they try and get a job back, they're going to have to take it for a lesser amount of money. So they've sort of given up what their rate was previously to this. They're now unemployed. They sort of fall back down the totem pole a little bit, which sucks for them. Because, I mean, you look at blokes like, all right, again, let's keep going through them. So we've got, well, you mentioned him before, Zack Ryder. Zack Ryder's been with the company, 9 years or so? Maybe longer.
I really don't think they need a Zack Ryder, though, do they?
AEW? I don't know.
Yeah, I reckon they need, Carl Anderson's already gone, so they can't have Gallows and Anderson. They need the Revival. They need stronger tag team division there.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the whole thing about their tag team division is it's sort of being there's no star power in it, and that's what we've sort of seen with the Revival. I mean, you would imagine the Revival have signed with AEW, and tell you what, talk about good timing by them. They pulled the trigger at the right time because it was just before all this shit went down. I mean, AEW's tag team division is lacking any sort of star power. You could have factored in a Gallows and Anderson.
Their women's division and tag team division,
Yeah.
I think, is what they need to.
Their women's division struggles.
If they get that right, then that's when they're going to start really challenging because we know their top single stars are magnificent and their top line are perfect. Everything, that part is good. The mid-card,
yeah.
the mid-card, that's where they're, they're putting on good stuff, but they're not making headlines. They're not really like, if you were to ask a wrestling fan, what do you get out of AEW? What's the first 4 or 5 names that would pop up?
Cody Rhodes, Chris Jericho, John Moxley, all of which are ex-WWE. And I guess...
that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Your point's definitely correct.
Them taking like Rusev, who else you got there?
Other than that, you've got the likes...
Like I told you last night, EC3, I'd put EC3 and Drake Maverick together as a manager and have them...
Yeah, that's not bad.
But, for some of the other guys, I mean, No Way Jose or Jose.
Well, here's what this is what our mate Dave LaGreca was speculating. He reckons the type of wrestler that No Way Jose is, he'd probably be on roughly $200,000 a year.
Gee, that's still not bad.
It's good coin, isn't it? That's not bad at all. And no way, Jose. Put it this way, he's about as good as his name is. So, I mean, no shots.
All we'd be doing is working house shows.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I don't know. There's the logical thought process would be that they'll be picked up by AEW. You would think, for those who can.
Also, I don't think the indies are going at the moment.
I don't think they are. I don't think Ring of Honor are.
They're not in a powerful position to film without a crowd. Like they need a crowd. So I think it's just, even is Japan filming?
I'm not too sure about New Japan. I would imagine they're probably not. I know that Impact were they had backlogged a fair few episodes. But to a point where they were, up until last week, I think they were still putting out new shows with a crowd. So that shows you how much they backlog all their shows. But other than that, I would imagine. Did you see overnight? What's his name? Zack Ryder put up a new shirt on Pro Wrestling Tees, which, I mean, if you want to support some of these wrestlers who are probably doing it tough, head on to prowrestlingtees.com and they do all the indie wrestling t-shirts, and the shipping is far more reasonable. I'm rocking a few Cody Rhodes t-shirts at the moment.
I might have to get on that.
Yeah.
They don't do WWE tees though, just purely indies.
They've got like some old school WWE, so they've got like Austin, they've got those blokes that aren't currently under contract, so like Hogan's got some t-shirts, some, big names, but I mean The Rock's not on there because he doesn't need it, but other than that, a few of them are on there. Zack Ryder put up his first t-shirt post WWE, which is 24 hours, Lukas, and the number one selling item on Pro Wrestling Tees within 24 hours. So it shows that people are going to get behind him. Not to mention Zack Ryder, arguably the best self-promoter WWE's had in some time.
You know, one of our favourites, Ryan Satan, his Twitter. This what makes him good, by the way.
Yeah.
He dug up all this footage of Heath Slater, Ryder, all their best moments, and it said, and Rusev, and said, listen to the crowd in the background when these guys were over, but just didn't get a chance, you know?
Yeah.
And he's just like, they all have the potential to get over, but they just didn't get put over. And that sat with me. I was like, I thought about it for a while, and I was like, it's so true. Like, they all had their moment where I hope one day Heath Slater can come back and 3MB can join together as three previous world champions and actually be like a good three, you know? And Zack Ryder, I reckon Zack Ryder would come back to WWE for nothing if they asked him to come back.
Oh, yeah, he loves it.
But
so, I mean...
Guys like Eric Young and EC3, they'd probably be like, well, when we were running hot, they didn't give us a chance, so why go back?
Yeah, I admittedly didn't catch much of EC3's run in NXT, for instance, but apparently that was pretty successful. It was a short run, but it was pretty hot.
He had a really good ladder match for the, the North American Championship.
Okay. Who was that with? Was that with Cole?
They even had like Ricochet. No, it was like 6 people. If you go back and watch that, it's on. It was a takeover.
Yeah.
No, the crowd was right around him. I'm so confused why he didn't get a push.
Hey, Cody Rhodes, EP of EVP, I should say, of AEW. You don't reckon he's going to try and get a contract for Zack Ryder?
Nah, I reckon he might.
Yeah, I reckon he might.
You never say never. You never say never in wrestling, but I don't know. He can't. If he comes to AEW, he can't come in as woo Zack Ryder.
You wouldn't have thought he'd have to repackage himself somehow, wouldn't he? Like, he couldn't be running the same gimmick that he's been running for all these years. There's a reason why he wasn't on TV. And don't get me wrong, like, I don't dislike it, but I think the woo is it's probably run its course at this point.
Yeah.
Tell me though, how do you see WWE after this? Are you filthy with them? Do you reckon you understand it? Do you feel like it's fair? Because, I mean, you know, let's shoot from the hip a little bit here. I mean, I lost my job a month ago or something. And, like, it sucks. But you do kind of go, well, you know, I'm not the only one. I get it. There's a lot of people losing their jobs. It's not necessarily due to anything you've done. It's just because it's you know, something has to give.
Yeah. My mate Dale Eckwood is a big wrestling fan. He messaged me the other day saying, "Gee," I'm sure you've watched Raw right now.
Yep.
And I think all the new faces that they showed on Raw was a very different Raw. But it's hard to say because you don't know what the conversations from Vince and Hannah I would have loved Vince, Hannah, Steph. They've come out and said RIP Fink and all that, and I agree with that, but they've never, because it's so real with this Corona stuff, I would have loved them to come out and been like, usually, like they always make 5 or 6 cuts a year, but to have all of, like this much cuts in one go, like I would love them just to tweet, "We're really sorry to let these guys go. We hope they can come back at a different time." And then...
Well, Steph sort of alluded to it. She didn't really go into it, but you would have seen her Howard Finkel tweet. And like it sort of touched on it at the start. She's like, after a really tough 24 hours, you know, this sucks to have this happen now. It's like, yeah, you could have probably spoken a little bit more about the other thing because, you know, let's be honest, those people are still here. Those people might appreciate hearing something from... Because I can guarantee you, Stu, they would have heard from the talent relations guy, Matt Carano, and that would have been it.
Yeah.
But then here's my flip side, right? And tell me, I think you and I might have a little disagreement here because I think we see one thing in particular a bit differently. Walk me through your feelings on the Seth Rollins video.
Oh, what? You didn't think that he meant what he was saying?
No. I don't think he didn't mean it. I think there's a time and place for it. And I don't think the day that everyone's just lost their job is the time for Seth Rollins, arguably one of the faces of WWE. His job's safe. He is more than safe. He is the company man. Comes out, says, oh, it's very sad, but I want everyone to remember that this isn't WWE's fault. Okay, whoa!
Yeah, why do you reckon he's getting a title push right now after he just lost at WrestleMania?
And he did this after the Saudi Arabia issue where there was the whole talent kicking up a fuss because they're playing, like it was almost like, are we being taken hostage here?
Yeah, I don't disagree with you on that at all. I know Seth knows how to play the game. So does Becky. They all know how to.
So does Roman. There's a reason why they're the top stars and they're the company's ambassadors. But I mean, shit, Stuke. I mean, there is a time, isn't there? I mean, 2 days after, Seth can come out and say, you know, it's been hard getting things back on track, but it's good being a part of the company to, you know, have separate tweets, have a separate video, especially when every other arsehole out there on the roster is coming out saying, man, this is the worst day ever. This is the worst. And then Seth's the one person that comes out and flies the flag for the company.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Coming out of the KO and Seth Rollins WrestleMania match, do you think who should be taking Drew out on Raw? Kevin Owens?
Probably Owens. Man, I was blown away. Why the hell is Seth out there curb stomping? Don't get me wrong. I get Kevin Owens is a face, a good guy, and Seth Rollins is a heel. That doesn't mean that Owens can't be changed like that, or have two good guys go against each other. Rollins being pushed makes zero sense since he technically, Lukas, lost twice at WrestleMania on the same night.
Yeah.
He got DQ'd and then he got pinned.
Yeah.
All right, mate, we better wrap it up. I'll let you go, but let's recap. Some sad releases, some very sad releases from WWE, both producers and talent. R.I.P. Howard Finkel, the voice of WWE. I might even put a little bit in of Howard here. Yep, we've got a beer for Howard because, mate, the voice of wrestling. He was the best announcer for sure. For sure.
Hey, you know when they pass away and like when every single wrestler tweets a photo or something of that's when you made it, you know.
Yeah, and when everyone says you were the nicest person ever, you must have been pretty decent. So rest in peace to the Fink, of course. AEW might have some headaches coming with finances and trying to pick up some really talented people.
As much of it's a sad time in wrestling, it is also the most interesting time, in my opinion.
Very, very interesting time because no one knows what the hell's going to happen from week to week, Lukas.
It's time. If you got the money, AEW, it's time to make a play.
And if you've got the money and you want to support some wrestlers, go over to, ProWrestlingTees.com and you can... jump behind some of the boys. Lukas, thanks for joining me, mate. I appreciate you taking the time to jump on, chatting all things WWE, and the very sad day that it was.
It was, mate. Hey, thanks for being my WWE friend, mate. Always appreciate it. Good luck with the podcast. I love being on. I always come back. Stay safe.
Cheers, mate. Put up your beer. There we go. Cheers. A little friendly cheers. Thanks, mate. All right, another episode done of the Pop Culture Experience. Episode 22, this is. It was a doozy. Thanks to Lukas for that chat. Insightful stuff. Just, two fans who love a bit of wrestling, getting amongst it, talking about it, fleshing it out, and trying to come to terms with losing some big names that we liked in our weekly entertainment consumption of wrestling. So thanks to him for jumping on and having a chat with me via Zoom. Everyone's on the Zoom at the moment. So that was good. Don't forget you can jump on the socials. Again, we're on the Facebook now. an independent page for the podcast, the Pop Culture Experience on Facebook. Head over, like the page. You can follow along. There's videos, there's podcasts, there's all sorts of crap posted on there. Don't forget, if you want to engage with something about this, it's something that's been discussed on the podcast, if you will, jump on there, comment away, like away. I'll get back to you. Okay. But yeah, other than that, you can also jump on the YouTube channel, Pop Culture Experience. I've got to be careful because I feel like sometimes reports flying out. Pop Culture Report, Pop Culture Experience, and there's no one here to correct me. So you're probably you'll hear the occasional Pop Culture Report. Just know when I listen back to it later, I will be cursing myself. Yeah. Jump on YouTube, subscribe. Don't forget, of course, you can get the podcast iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, most of those platforms. I don't know where else you get your podcasts. That's where I get my podcast. So, I'm covered. Hopefully you're covered too. Look, that's it for this episode. Talk to you soon. Stay safe out there. And, go watch a movie or something. Have a good week.
This has been a Cheeky Leprechaun production.